Hi all.
Now you will hear a brief retelling of the film Tonya. Against all, the film is based on real events. Tonya is the fifth child of Tonya Harding from the fourth marriage. She brought her 4-year-old daughter to the skating rink for a figure skating coach to take over, Dean Rawlinson. At first, she refused arrogantly. Woman smoking right on the ice because the child is still too small. But the cheerful girl won her over, and already 6 months later, Tonya won her first competition. Mother attends every training session of her daughter and drinking coffee and whiskey. That's all he does. That bullies and criticizes her. Cruel woman. Won't let the girl go to the toilet in the middle of training, and she describes herself right on the skating rink. Throughout her childhood, Tonya suffered from her mother's blows and slaps. She grows up in a hillbilly family where she was taught how to hunt, and for offensive words from a classmate they offer spit in her face. By the way, a big problem. Judges want to see little princesses on the ice, and Tonya seemed to have just come out of the forest.
After some time, the fourth husband also ran away from the Livona.
Don't leave me with her. Dad, at 15, Tonya met Jeff
and couldn't resist him because the guy had such a seductive moustache.
Ilona Jeff went on a date with a couple for control. A little slow and difficult to answer. Taunts of a woman.
Already fucked.
Father stopped paying child support, and Tonya decided to ask the dunce, what would he do after studying? Her mother herself forced her to quit school to skate. The girl feels good with this cute simpleton. But after a couple of months, he began to rock her. And for her, this is the norm. Her mother taught her this kind of treatment as a child. Over time,
relations between relatives became increasingly tense.
A year later, in 1986,
finishing a cigarette,
Tonya is preparing for a performance. Jeff and his chubby friend Sean came to support her. The mother also hid below.
Tonya's lively performance delighted the audience. But now she has to face unfair refereeing. Even the girl who fell received higher marks.
Mother, during dinner, as always, my daughter supported me. I was better off rolling around like a dead cow.
And for no reason attacked her. But today she started the line,
threw Tonya a knife. After that case, the girl ran away from Livona and moved in with Jeff. She sews the dress for the performance herself. It was the best time of the couple's life.
The man worked,
and Tonya took part in competitions. Once again,
she faced unfair refereeing, and one of the judges says it straight to her face
that they evaluate not only the performance itself,
but also the appearance of the skater.
Or maybe you're just not that good. Dandruff net. Dean is advised by his ward in the locker room.
Still think about another suit. Manners and music for performances are also no good.
But only angers the girl. Tonya finally marries Jeff. Before that, she worked part-time, driver of forklifts with a cab in a store,
and many more places.
From now on, she can rely on her husband and do only figure skating. 91st year has come. Tony is now trained by Dodie Teachman, and at the US Championships,
she is preparing to perform a very difficult jump.
Triple axel stands.
Some guy calls the girl a sucker and trash,
but it turns out that's what it's for. Bribed 11.
Performing one element after another, gifted figure skater successfully copes from the country maximum.
She became the first American, which succeeded. She finally achieved the highest grades and recognition. On that moment, she was the best single skater in the world. After the triple axel, everything changed in his personal life. Jeff found it difficult to please his wife, and Tonya understood that deserves more. She is fed up with the constant beatings and runs away from her husband. Being at the peak of form, Tonya won silver at the World Championships and gold at the American Championships.
Jeff was given a restraining order against his wife, but that doesn't stop him.
He goes to his wife, taking with him his pot-bellied friend, who, according to him, worked in the special services.
And the fool drove a bunch of kilometers just to personally send Tonya.
And he had the last word. Surprisingly, it helped him get Rodneck's skater back. But their reunion was a curse on Tony's career. With the Olympic Games approaching,
she screwed up more and more. It's 1990 Winter Olympics in France.
Tonya came here
to become the first woman
who will perform the triple axel at this competition. But 2 days before that, Tonya injured her knee, which was caused by a chaotic lifestyle and gaining weight before the Olympics.
That's why the skater screwed up all her landings
and became only the fourth.
Jeff started to let loose again,
and the couple eventually divorced. But crazy, the guy didn't leave the girl alone even after that. He broke into her hotel room with a gun
and even wounded her with a ricochet from a shot,
and then pushed him into the car to take you to. On the way to the hospital, they were stopped by a patrolman, but he just confiscated the booze and weapons.
The cop didn't care about the bloody woman.
After 4th place at the Olympics,
Do not offer advertising contracts.
and Tonya, like her mother, got a job as a waitress in a cafe.
It is there that the first trainer Dean finds her. She reports that the Olympic Games will be held this time, already after 2 years, in 94th, and gives Tony one more chance to return to the sport.
Tormented asthma, the girl started training according to the Rocky Balboa system.
And this is a quote from the movie.
The athlete is gradually returning to form,
But she still doesn't see good ratings from the judges. Buttoned up by surprise, one of them confesses that it's not just about her skills. She comes from a bad family, and in itself is not worthy to represent the country.
You're like a disgrace. Tonya understands
That she needs to do something about it. After a long time, she meets her mother to sort things out.
and, judging by Lavin's conversation, does not see any guilt for the accident. Daughter's childhood. After all, she raised a champion. To simulate a normal family in front of journalists, she had to return to her ex-husband. The bruises on her face are back.
Soon, one important and unpleasant event happened. A threat came to Tony's name. If she shows up at the skating rink,
He'll get a bullet. And the girl got scared and then didn't go out on the ice for a long time.
narrow-minded Jeff decided that this was the work of Nancy Kerrigan, America's other top female skater,
And she needs to answer in kind.
sending a letter with a threat to her life already addressed to her.
Tonya also took part in this, learning the name of the stadium, which the competitor is engaged in.
Her recording will later be found by the FBI chief during the investigation.
According to the now-aged Jeff, Tonya did not know about the planned attack.
She only knew about the letter. He supposedly didn't plan anything like that himself then, so that everything goes clean. His friend Sean demanded $1,000.
He will connect his faithful people to them.
But then I needed more money. Jeff wanted to cancel everything, but Sean refuses and talks some nonsense.
What else is cancelled? The cogs are already turning.
The mechanism is in action. What to do? He also managed to be rude to Tony. And she put the hillbilly in his place.
Calling him a bag of stinking fat and laughing at that.
That he considers himself a cool agent.
Soon one of the thick-headed Harrodnecks he hired, Shane, entered the stadium.
He recognizes from the audience.
Which of the trainees is Nancy Kerrigan, and follows her with a telescopic baton.
He hits her on the knee with all his might.
Avoids idiot.
Not finding a way out.
Breaks a glass door with his head, and for some reason attacks a passerby. On the same day, all the news in the country tell about
That the US figure skating champions broke their knee.
Tonya runs into her husband and doesn't understand. How did it come to this?
Mustachio himself is shocked, but Sean is proud of the work done.
He claims that he changed history. And now all skaters will hire security. And the fat guy confesses
that it was he who then sent the threatening letter to Tony.
The special agent thought through everything for steps ahead. While Tonya is performing at the skating rink, Jeff sends her off with a hammer.
One more check is the decisive competition,
thanks to which the figure skater may go to the Olympics.
The cops found the necks instantly,
and Harding is basking in the glory.
Because I still could
achieve a place on the Olympic team.
She and her husband had their first conversation with the Barretts, and Jeff acted as suspicious as possible.
And the special agent has been talking Sagan over the last 24 hours.
Literally everyone you meet. But when interrogated by real agents,
the idiot immediately puts all the blame on his friend, Jeff, and makes an appointment with him on the phone in a cafe.
But he immediately guessed
that the pig is wired.
And at the mention of Nancy, she pretends that he doesn't understand.
What is he talking about?
He brewed it himself.
Sort it out yourself. Jeff insists
that they really need to come up with a folding legend.
And the girl guessed during the conversation,
which is most likely
it was her ex-husband who came up with the idea to cripple her rival. And then she decided to act on her own.
With a lawyer testifies to the FBI against Jeff, avoids him from the house through the window.
Whatever it was. But we need to prepare for the Olympics.
Only figure skaters are not given access by journalists.
And meanwhile, the husband informs the FBI that the girl knew about the impending attack
from the very beginning. All four thugs appeared in court. Jeff was accused of bracing and obliged to pay a fine of $100,000.
He ended up getting 2 years, and the rest for 1.5. A month before the Olympics everyone is discussing will exclude Lithuania and the national team,
Also recovering from a competition injury,
ready to take part.
internet to Aragon,
Through a crowd of journalists to his daughter,
was able to break through Solomon. To the girl's surprise,
her mother supports her in this difficult life situation.
but then the woman asks a question. Did Tonya know about the attack? Yes. I immediately understood everything and found a voice recorder in my mother's pocket.
Pushed her out the door.
At a large press conference, Harding reports that he does not admit his guilt, but he regrets what happened.
In the end, she still made it to the Olympic team dress. Figure skater preparing to go on the ice.
But in the end, it is very delayed due to problems with skates. Hands are shaking. She is not able to lace them herself.
In the last seconds,
She does roll out
onto the ice and begins his performance.
but soon stops and can't hold back his tears. Her skate lace broke. This is an unprecedented case,
And the judges allowed
Tony retie the shoelace
and start the program from the beginning. The result is only 8th place. According to Tony herself, she performed well. But the judges, as always, failed her.
but Nancy Kerrigan won silver. Well, after the Olympics, Tonya herself appeared in court. She was sentenced to 3 years probation to pay a fine of $100,000 in payment of $50,000 Special Olympics Fund, 500 hours of community,
And immediate exclusion from the association. Figure skating.
with a lifetime ban in all tournaments. At this age 20 for years,
Tonya Harding's career was over.
although she herself would prefer to serve time, but then have the opportunity to go out on the ice.
Since then, Labona has not seen her daughter again.
And Jeff admits that in the end, it was he who buried his ex-wife's career.
10 years later, Tonya participated for 2 years in professional boxing fights. Today, she works as a landscape designer and does painting work.
At 41, the woman gave birth.
Firstborn.
Did Tonya Harding know about the attack on Nancy Kerrigan? It remains a mystery to everyone.